What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Baseball Development Hub podcast. My name is Trevor Powers, and I am joined, as always, on the podcast by co-host Dan Galati. Dan, we have a super special guest today. We have Ryan Christian, who is the founder of Ravik Spin Command Baseballs. And me and you were talking before Ryan hopped on here. We're just going to start this conversation off and say, if you're a high school coach, D2 coach, D3 coach, JUCO coach, NAIA coach, and even a Division I coach, if you aren't doing some research and finding out about these baseballs, it is awesome. And we're going to get into why they are so awesome today. Ryan, thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course. Why don't you fill in our listeners a little bit on the origin story of the baseballs themselves and kind of what makes them unique to maybe some different products in the space?
Yeah, so I'm a baseball coach myself, pitching coach for, I think I'm on 9 years now, which makes me feel really old. But the idea behind them was I was just kind of tired of cueing guys into how to throw off-speed pitches. It's such a small movement that happens in the throwing motion that, it's really hard to get younger athletes to figure that move out. And so I was actually working with a kid that's at Notre Dame on a cutter sweeper mix, and he just could not figure out, like, this is my cutter, this is my sweeper. He'd throw them just intermix. And I actually saw the Driveline command balls about a year prior and thought that when it said 5% on the ball, I thought it meant 5% bigger on one half, not the other, because they kind of have it labeled that way. Turns out that's not actually what it was. But after that bullpen, I was like, I think this is going to work. So I took our old set of Driveline baseballs, weighted baseballs, took them over to my grandpa's house with a circular saw, chopped them in half and glued them together. And then ended up bringing them back the next day to see if they, worked, and threw what I thought was going to be a two-seam. I thought the weight would to the outside, I thought if I was holding the weight to the inside of my hand, it would force my hand to the inside of the baseball. It did the exact opposite. I went to the outside, threw a slider without meaning to, and was like, oh, okay, so yeah, this works, because that is not what I was trying to do. But my hand was very, very much forced into that move, whether I wanted to or not. And that was kind of the genesis of it. And 3 years later, you're finally off and rolling. So
I'm curious, because I want to go back a little bit, because you within that mix of trying to figure out how to, separate a cutter slider with your guy and getting to your grandfather's house with a circular saw, how did you even come up with, like, half the baseball needs to be a different size? Because that's where, like, that's what kind of blows my mind, or a different weight, because I don't even know how you, like, how did you come up with that thought? I would have never.
So, like I said, it was the Driveline command balls. Like I said, when I saw it, was just, they posted a picture on Twitter of, like, coming soon, and I saw it was like they had their normal Driveline logo in the middle of the ball, and then said 5% to one side. So I was like, oh, 5% to the other. I was like, that might help with sliders. And that was just kind of the first thought that popped into my head. It didn't really click with me until, like, that bullpen, and then I was like, I got to try this. And like I said, luckily my boss was cool with me completely butchering up our full set of Driveline baseballs. That was a fun text thread with him, like, hey, I'm stealing 6 of these, and they're all going to be useless after this. But
that's awesome. One, good on him for being open-minded and letting you do that. And then kind of walk me through a little bit of how you started to figure out the different grips, because for everyone who doesn't know, within these baseballs, you also have on your website, left-handed, right-handed, fastball grips, all speed. So, like, when did the process start? Take us back to the beginning of, like, obviously it generated when you figured out the slider. How did you kind of continue that process to now figure out all the different grips and how to do it? Was it just all guess and check?
Yeah, it was basically trial and error. It was me sitting on a TrackMan, and hey, we're going to throw this, and I'm going to try and match the feel. What pitch type did that come out with? And luckily, I mean, I've done this long enough that, like, you had a pretty good understanding once you got slow-mo of, like, this is what pitch is being forced. But yeah, there was definitely some hiccups along the way. One of the first times I realized this was actually going to work really well was with a couple 8th graders who were trying sliders out. And I was trying to get them a sweep. Like, I was trying to get them both sweepers. They were both, like, low arm slot guys, like, fit perfect in that sweeper mold. And I gave them what is now our gyro slider grip. And they came back a week later after throwing perfect 0-0 gyro sliders. I was like, well, that's not what I wanted to do with you at all. I completely screwed up your normal slider, which was, like, at, like, -7, 8 horizontal. But that's cool, because I know it works. And then took me another week to figure out the sweeper grip, and got them that. And then a week later they came back and they were at, like, -14, -15. So figure those out pretty quick. But after that, yeah, just a ton of trial and error. And I mean, we still have to update. We have a new cutter grip that we found was better. Starting to do some seam shifted wake feels in there as well. So, and I'm sure it's going to continue to update all the time as we start to figure out different grips, and as different players start using it too and figuring out what grips they like. Because again, in theory, it can do every pitch. It's kind of the point. So.
Yeah. The I would imagine the every grip can be used on the baseball, right? It's not going to be limited. It's going to be basically everything you can think of. Did anything? So kind of in the beginning months of this, in the beginning, maybe the first year there, was your mind changed, or did you learn anything new about something that you had conventionally thought before on a grip or on a shape or on a cue, like anything? Because now you're seeing it work with these balls, and you're like, oh, this is actually, everyone, the oldest one in the book is the football throw with a slider, which I never to me, that was one of the worst cues ever, because it's in my mind, if you're doing everything properly, it's a completely different throwing motion. Did you have anything change about, something you had thought was conventional before?
Maybe not like conventional, but more just expanded on. Like definitely like the timing of release was one of the big things, and getting guys to understand like, hey, this move happens at the last second. Like we're not trying to throw a curveball behind our head. We're trying to throw a curveball way out in front. Like everything up until then, it's a fastball, turn it over super late. And that's where I think like getting guys to understand like, if you try and throw this curveball early, it's not going to be a curveball. Like your hand's going to reject the move. You have to time up when we're turning this baseball over, when we're pulling it to the inside. Like that was one of the big things that like made cueing easier. And I also think helped on the command side of stuff for guys too. Just getting them to understand like, hey, the timing is just as important as the move. No different than anything else in pitching. So that was one of the things that was definitely expanded on, just using it.
One of the most fascinating things that from talking to you the couple times that we've talked back and forth is how quickly adjustments are made. And that's something you kind of glossed over with the eighth graders that you were talking about. It's like, oh, we started working on this one day and they were 0-0 the next day. And it's like, well, now we just added a pitch to your arsenal, but we still wanted to work on that sweeper. And then it's like the next week they came at like, it takes months to years to do these in off seasons when during pitch design sessions. Talk about that as well, of the value of the product is just how quickly you see typical adjustments for guys just because the field changes, and then they're able to rip the regular baseball the way they should.
Yeah, I mean, with high school guys, I mean, it's weeks at most. Max Goldberg's a Boston College commit out here, struggling with his curveball, and a week later, I think because his pitching coach is one of my coworkers, and he was sending me like his like what he thought was his curveball, and I think it was like -2, +2. He's a lefty, and then a week later, it's -8, -10. Like, and I mean, like honestly, at this point, seeing a change in a week is kind of boring. Like it sounds weird. Like that's just kind of mundane now. Whereas like it's like, oh, the guy that just picks up a new pitch in 3 pitches, it's like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, everybody else is like, it took you a week to learn it. And then I remember thinking back to the early years where it's like, yeah, that used to take like months, like to refine a pitch, and now it's like, oh yeah, you picked it up in 2 weeks, 2 days. Like, so it's definitely shortened the time quite a bit. And I mean, high level guys, it feels like cheating. Like I feel like it is a cheat code. We had a Blue Jays. Well, I guess he's with the Mariners now, but we had a Blue Jays guy come in. He's like, yeah, I've tried to pick up a cutter with the Blue Jays for the last year. And I was like, hey, like, no, you've never met me before. You're just here visiting. Like, you want to try something weird? Gave him the cutter grip, and he hops up on the mound and is throwing +10 to 12 at -3 from the right side. Like it was nothing. He's just like, this is what, like, I haven't been able to do this ever. This has been a year trying to do this, and I did it in 5 throws. I'm like, yeah, no, sometimes it's kind of crazy how quick it works.
That's fascinating, because I think that every pitching coach out there can say that what they're trying to do is cut the adjustment time down, right? Like the better arms, like you said, the high level guys. That's what you always. I think to me, that's what always stood out. It's like the high level guys, their adjustment window is so much smaller, and you're like, okay, this is what's part of what makes these guys so special, is like how quickly. So if you're kind of arming more people with that ability, I mean, just to, it like changing careers and
Yeah,
working
I
guys
want
so
to I want to
much.
see somebody run wild with it and just see if, can you get a 12 pitch arsenal? Like, why not? Like, I mean, it's eventually got to happen in the game. Like, we've kind of hit a velocity cap. Like, now it's going to come
Correct.
down to, can you throw 8 pitches for strikes like that are good? And hopefully this will be something that helps helps that start to form for guys.
Yeah, I think you're seeing it, right? Like you're seeing some guys, like you said, I think we're starting to hit a velocity cap a little bit, and you look and some guys are doing that, right? Like how many guys? I mean, a lot of the best pitchers in baseball are multiple fastball guys currently.
Hmm.
You're talking about multiple spin, sweeper, slider, whatever it is. So I think you're absolutely right. And like to have a tool that you could develop something like 10 pitches, whatever, something crazy, because it does feel like there is no kind of ceiling on what we can do at this point. So maybe it's 10, 12 pitches that you're commanding, and what a nightmare that would be for hitters. How about I want to ask you though, guys, like everybody's different, obviously. That's different arm angles, different release points. How we're getting to that spot is different for everybody. Is it kind of universal? Like, hey, however you throw it, you use the ball. It doesn't matter, or are you making certain adjustments for different arm slots and things like that?
Not really, because because it's being forced. Like, everybody is just throw a fastball to your partner's chest. Like, that's it. It's either going to be a plyo throw into a net, where I'm telling you to throw like a fastball, or you're throwing it to your partner's chest like a fastball, and the ball's forcing the action at the last second. So you don't have to change much. The only thing it does not force is curveball and topspin. You have to try and create topspin, or it's just going to turn into a sweeper. Like, it'll force sweeper action if you don't turn topspin. Um, but outside of that, everything is just throw like a fastball. So your arm angle, arm actions should remain pretty consistent throughout, with where your fastball's at. So, and if you cheat the ball, it honestly makes it worse. Like, for guys that, like, say sweeper, they want to cheat and fly open. That ball will go 30 feet arm side, which is hilarious. It's so fun watching guys throw that for the first time, and they're a guy that just dumps their front side open trying to get around the ball, and they sail it over the fence, and you're like, yep, can't do that with this. Like, you gotta understand the timing of, like, you gotta get out front, you gotta think fastball earlier, um, or they can't play catch with it. That was actually a text I got from, I want to say it was Ohio State's coach, that was like, yeah, it looked like our guys had never played baseball before, like trying this the first time. And I was like, yep, that's correct. Like, that's what it's going to look like the first time. They'll adjust, but if they try and cheat the ball, the whole point is you don't have to cheat it. You just throw it. It's meant to be feel, and it's meant to be forced, um, which is obviously going to be a little bit better way of training stuff. Um, the constraint just makes it better.
When you talk about, you've been a pitching coach and worked with high schoolers for 9 years or so, one of the things that I always struggled, worried with younger athletes was, how do you communicate simplicity, right? Like when you get college athletes, when you get professional athletes, especially the guys that you started to get around with these balls more, you can throw like complex cues at them and they have really good feel for what they're doing. How valuable is it just to allow a pitching coach for working with younger pitchers to be like, just throw a fastball at your partner's chest? Like, I know we're thinking about a curveball, a changeup, a cutter, a sweeper, whatever it is. Just throw a fastball at the chest. And how much does that resonate with younger athletes who might not understand all of the cue salad that we can throw at them?
Yeah, I mean, our entire facility's goal is kind of to get away from cues. We're very much like constraint-led training, ecological side training. Like, I want athletes to experiment and figure out where they fit into the mold, um, through the drills that we put in. So that's where these baseballs, like, the idea stems from is, I want to talk less and let you experiment and figure stuff out more. So rather than me even coming up with cues anymore, like even with my young guys, 12, 13 years old, after they throw it, I'm like, all right, tell me what you felt. What cues are you going to want to use? So now it's internalized. Like, it's not me cueing you. It's you now have your cues that you use, through using that ball. So, I mean, I have 12-year-olds that are telling me, yeah, for changeup, I want to get it off this little itty bitty part of my ring finger. Like, that's what I need to feel to get a good changeup. And having 12-year-olds that can give you that kind of feel it's crazy. Like, it's wild, but makes it a lot easier for them too, because now when they screw up, they know they did. They're like, I didn't get it off that part of my ring finger, it came off my middle finger. Like, and that's super helpful, because now you're taking the external cues out of it. It's all internalized.
I can't even like stress enough how important, or like the advantage you have, and how the best people that I've ever been around is like they know exactly how everything should feel when it's going your best, because so very little times do you have everything going at your
Yeah,
best
almost
on a
never.
day when you're right. So it's like to be able to completely understand, like even something as detailed as that, like you said, like off the little part of this finger, and like know that feel, and so that the, like I was talking about before, the adjustment can be made, or just understanding who you are makes, your life so much easier when you're trying to do something as kind of complex, and I don't even know if it's complex pitching. It's more so just like every margin is so small. You
Yeah.
have to be different, right? So it's like to be able to understand exactly what you need to do is just incredibly impressive. What's your recommended, like, are we talking, because obviously, like, I can imagine, like, being back in the day, like, having this for pitch design sessions to then get the ball, the visual feedback, the ball flight feedback, and be able to see that. But how about catch play every day? Like, is it like, hey, warm up with this in your catch play and then switch to a regular baseball? What's kind of your recommended daily usage for something like this?
So we outlined all of it in our app. Like there's a full training guide section. Granted, like when we were play testing this, like we were trying to see how little we could use this and still create change. So ours are probably gonna be on the very low end of like how often to use it. But we do recommend, using it in catch play, but we're talking like 3 to 5 throws per pitch with the spin command ball. So like 3 to 5 fastballs, 3 to 5 changeups. So it's not a huge amount of volume. And it's super easy to work in, and the catch play. If you're just down on the line, it's like, hey, yeah, get your 3 to 5 throws in after you've done your long toss, come back in, get those, and you're good to go. I have some guys that like using it in the bullpen before pens, before games. I have other guys that just do it on the line. Like it's kind of, like I said, we very much let athletes experiment with what works for them. So we're a little less rigid on like how we structure it. But we gave our recommended, and that's what I'm very curious to see. Once this gets to much smarter people than me, like how the training regimens actually change. Like that's what I'm very curious about, is who maximizes this better than I did. Um, so that'll be exciting to see. I'm very excited to see who does that.
We've talked so much through the 20 minutes or so here about development. One of the things that Dan kind of brought up there, and what you were talking about, I think that the product provides a ton of value for, is also maintenance, right? Of just being able to utilize this in season, right? For some reason, we talked about this off record of like in baseball, for some odd reason, we'd shut down player development in the spring. And I think a product like this is so valuable because it's one of those things like, hey, you're a 4-seam ride guy. Even in your light catch play, you should throw 5 of those a day. Just feeling the ball come off of your fingers the way it's supposed to. You don't have to rip it at 100%. You don't have to go and try to add a new pitch. Talk about the value of just that alone from the feedback or the work you've done of just being able to maintain the stuff you have through the spring into the summer and through the competitive period that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I think every pitching coach in the world can say that they've talked to an athlete who's been like, yeah, I lost feel of this at some point in the season, whether it's for weeks in a season or just a game. And, rather than trying to guess their way through it, I mean, I had guys, this last summer was the first time we had it with the summer team. And I had a kid come in third inning, like, hey, I lost feel of the slider. Like, cool, go down to the bullpen, throw this 5 times. We're good to go. Now we got our feel of our slider back. Now we can throw it in warmups before the next inning, make sure it matches. And now we've got our slider back innings 4 through 6, 4 through 7, or however long we're going in the game. So being able to make in-game adjustments, plus, like you said, throughout the season of you could just lose feel of the pitch at any given time. Like, why worry about that if you have an ability to get that feel back?
What have you run into any instances where let's just take a sweeper for example, and you're kind of building the sweeper from with using the spin command ball, and guy kind of starts, you think it's starting to look good, and then you switch back to the baseball, and we're still not there, or something now is off with hand positioning or anything like that, and is there like a time then it's like, well, we need to keep using the spin command ball, let's throw it a couple more times? Is it maybe like, all right, let's dial it back and continue to hammer with the the regular 5 ounce now, so that we can kind of get that thought process? What's kind of the process there? I'm sure it differs for everyone, but have you run into any situations like that?
Usually, I mean, if we are, it's like, it's been like a week and you still haven't quite got the feel of it. Like, we might still hammer it a little bit more. We might, throw on the slow-mo. Well, I mean, I usually always have the slow-mo cameras running on guys anyway, but like, we might start to look at that. Again, having guys internalize their own cues of like, hey, we're trying to throw the middle finger around the ball. Like, one of my favorite ones for sweepers now is always, I'm trying to flip off the hitter at the end. Like, I'm trying to get that middle finger around. Just stuff like that, trying to get them to internalize their own cues to figure it out. But most of the time, even if they're not getting the pitch with a regular baseball right away, they can tell you why they didn't get their pitch with the baseball right away, which is also huge because, again, I'm sure every pitching coach in the world can remember a time where they're like, they just had no idea what was happening with their hand. Whereas after they throw this, they will very much understand what's happening with their hand and their fingers around a baseball. So even if they don't get it right away, they'll know why they didn't get it right away, which is a step in the right direction.
Have you done any experimentation with, like, I think one of the biggest things, especially with fastballs right now, is like if we can get a lower slot guy to really backspin it. Are you finding that that's like way easier even with this too? Like we're getting those low slot guys who can now create the ride and throw those upshoot fastballs and then also be able to sink it. Because like I feel like we put a lot of pitchers into boxes where you're either one or the other. Hey, you're a high spin guy and then you're a sink guy, and it makes sense, right, to me. Like, and I think I fell into that a lot of times. I was like, all right, let's just like I want to put you guys in buckets. So if you're a high spin, you're sink, and we'll base everything else off of that. And to me, what you're starting to see at the big league level is you're seeing like some of the best pitchers where it's like you're a high spin guy, and you're sinking it, like you're riding this thing, and then you're going to throw a sink or two off of it. Like that makes it impossible. Are you finding that this has become way easier to do? And yeah, like that's the path, and we've got to figure it out.
Yeah, luckily, they gave you the blueprint of like, orgs have given the blueprint of you just kill some spin efficiency off some guys, and now we're starting to be able to ride a little bit more. So yeah, we just throw cutter grip on you for a little bit. We're going to kill your fastball spin efficiency so you can get a feel of not, being that 100% efficient. And then after that, we can start working the backspin grip, and hey, you got 10 to 12 inches of ride now from a low 3/4 slot. Like, that's fun and easy. And I know, like, there's been plenty of guys where it's like, yeah, now we have 4-seam, 2-seam cutter, and that's been a pretty easy recipe to get. Like, it's hasn't been that difficult.
Something popped up real quick when you said that at the end there. Have you been able to then, because Trevor and I always talk about this, and I think some of the best guys you're seeing is too, is like now within that one pitch, we're talking about multiple planes of break within that one pitch.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of, like, my favorite pitch is cut ride.
Mm-hmm. Cut ride's always a good one.
Are we being able to, like, what's that process like? And are you seeing that, hey, developing the cut ride is a lot easier?
Yeah, again, it's just killing spin efficiencies off the fastball, cutter grip, and backspin, and you should have a pretty good feel of like, hey, this is what we need to work on. You can also adjust the cutter grip just a little bit to force the hand to stay behind a little bit longer. And yeah, now you got cut ride going on. One of the best pitcher in the state here in Colorado, Ethan Washman, that was one goal this winter, was developing like some cut ride, and just a hard cutter in general. Threw him on the cutter grip, one bullpen, and 5 pitches later, he's throwing 12 to 13 or vertical and -3, -5 horizontal at like 92. It felt like cheating. I was like, good luck, everybody. Because you're going to get 97 to 99 with a high ride, and then here's 92-mile-an-hour cutters. You're not hitting it.
You're doing it. Dan and I do this all the time. We're throwing around metrics like horizontal break and vertical induced vertical break like it's nothing here. And I know people don't have like the copy of their ranges like taped up above their dashboard if they're listening to this in the car. That's gross. Like all of these things, as somebody who's sunk his teeth into a stuff plus equation in the last 3 weeks, as Dan and I have, that's gross. That's really good. So
I also need to add, we're in Colorado. This is the worst it's going to look for that kid. Like,
right.
We're at altitude. Yeah. He's committed to Wake Forest. Like, that number probably jumps to like 15, 16 and -5 probably when he's out there.
Yeah.
So like, this is as bad as it's going to look. So yeah, I always feel the need to throw that out there. Like, yeah, we're in Colorado. Like, these movement profiles that I'm getting here are pretty solid for where it's the hardest to pitch in the world.
And you should, right? Because that was going to be my question is like the pitches, like we're getting with what you're saying, especially for younger pitchers, you're creating a new threshold of what we would define as gross, right? Like the numbers you're throwing out, like when we talk about stuff and having elite stuff, like you're talking about adding pitches that are borderline above MLB average for the high level players in high school, like the prospect you're talking about, at 17 years old before he's ever gotten into a pitching lab with like what Wake Forest has or Coach Neeson as the pitching coach.
I can't wait for Neeson to get a hold of this kid. It's going to be unfair.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit. I know it's kind of open-ended, just like being able to see pitches from younger athletes that you're like, that is gross.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been, I mean, again, Colorado, it sucks to try and move a baseball here. Like it's awful. Like and being able to see guys, like push high level pitch types, it makes it super nice. I mean, it makes it super easy on my end. Our summer team just absolutely dominated because we could just spin a ball better than everybody else. Like even if we didn't have the hardest throwing guys, which we did have some hard throwing guys, but every guy had 3 to 4 pitches that were just good. Even if they weren't elite, they were really good. Which again makes life easy. If you can throw multiple pitches for strikes at will that are quality pitches, you're gonna dominate baseball.
I kind of want to dive in a little bit, just in your opinion, because you're the first person I've ever gotten the chance to talk to about pitching in Colorado. Which obviously for the major league team has been right. Has been the
It's never been successful,
right? What is the key though to because you're like we're talking about here? Obviously, the spin command balls help. So if you're trying to pitch in Colorado, you don't have them. Probably behind the 8 ball a little bit. But like, what are some of the keys to get a baseball to move in that atmosphere, and kind of some of the adjustments that you have to make? Because I feel like you're having to go about it a little differently than
Yeah,
places
I
where you're
mean,
at sea
honestly,
level.
the timing stuff I think is a big part of it. Like being able to time up when to pull the ball at the right time, like makes it easier to move a baseball, like even at elevation. And I think a lot of the times because we're at elevation, we're trying to make the ball move more, and it's no different than velocity. If you're trying to throw harder, you're gonna throw slower. If you try and make a pitch nastier, it's not gonna be good. Like it's just gonna suck. So getting guys to understand more of the timing of it, I think, has helped quite a bit. At least here at elevation, and yeah, something I have to dig into a little bit more. Like I said, it'd be nice to see a study done somewhere that isn't here.
Sure.
But yeah, I think the timing of it's been definitely one of the bigger aspects that's helped guys.
So as a player development nerd, we'll get back on the tracks here. Oh, let me go deep real quick.
Yep.
What's the process for the Rockies that should be the best? Because they've kind of leaned into a little bit more vert, but I think when that was originally a thing, they were afraid of the fly ball nature of it. What do you think the process is in elevation that's the best? I'm just curious.
I do not know, to be honest. Again, I deal with high school hitters, and no offense to high school hitters, they suck. It's hard to hit at a high school level. So I that's probably a little bit above my pay grade. I mean, I'm hoping that the Rockies can just get hold of this tool, and whatever answer they have, they can freaking roll with it. It would be awesome. I'd love to see good baseball out here.
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody would at this point. What about setting sights? Because I feel like that's always such a key. What's the difference, especially with these baseballs? Are you having to change sight lines? Is that something that you kind of almost, or maybe even eliminating a little bit? Because I think, we are talking and stuff wins, and stuff is always going to be king. And there's no doubt about it. You'd have something nasty. But like you said, at the high school level, you can have nasty stuff and you don't have to command it that well. And then as you go up to the college level,
Yeah,
you have to command it a little bit better. Then if you get into pro baseball, like now you're talking about where like, oh, that's nasty and that's cute, but if you don't throw it in the zone, I can spit. So are you still having to cue in the sightline stuff? What's kind of your guys' process with that as you work with these?
so these honestly, like again, it's just playing catch with them. Like I have guys throw them full distance to catchers. We're trying to hit spots with them. Like it's a variable command tool. So the thing that really kind of got my mind thinking about on the command side was I had a 13U team. And I was just trying to make sure they were paying attention to what they were doing when they were playing catch with these. So I had them play point game. So 1 to the chest, 3 to the head. And they came back into the bullpen after doing that, and every single kid was throwing everything above the zone. Like it was all middle, but it was all above the zone. And I was like, that's weird. Like this team normally is pretty good about like keeping the ball down, like keeping it to the edges. I was like, why is everybody throwing fastball changeup above the zone? Like that's not normal. So I was like, all right, next week we're going to try something new, and we're going to go fastball one to the chest, 3 knees to thighs. So now we're just changing the goal. And they came back in. Everybody's at the bottom of the zone, like by and large. And I was like, okay, well, might have something on the command side of stuff. Um, and so that's what I did this last fall was that we dove into it of like, hey, we're going to play catch with this. The bullpens were set up where it was you threw 4 of your pitch type with a regular baseball. So let's say 4 fastballs. Then you'd go 4 with the spin command ball, still do a catcher. Like I'm still want you to throw a strike to the catcher, back to 4 with the regular baseball. And I think we went up like 11% strike percentage in 2 months. And I literally just sat back there on a TrackMan doing nothing other than like, hey, this is your grip if you forgot it, or like, hey, we're just trying to throw a strike. Like that's all I said. It was super boring. I hated every second of it, but it was a super fun like little experiment to have guys test out on. And again, talking high school athletes, I would be very curious to see what that looks like for higher level guys. But yeah, that's been the command side's now kind of where we're at. I know it makes you move baseballs like that's already been established for about 3 years now. Can this help you move baseballs and command those baseballs better?
I got 2 questions here. So the first one, because I want to circle back to the command and discuss that as well. The first one is how fascinating for you as a player development nerd. I think I can say that you are, just like
I
as a
am
player
very
development
player development
nerd. Yeah. Is it to just basically have your own playground and lab setting where you are just experimenting on a daily basis, where you have a product in your hands each and every day you go out there and coach, that you can mess around with 1 or 2 things and know that you're actually making players better, quite frankly, and it is something that's beneficial to them. How cool is it just to be nerding out with that information and just being able to just learn every day?
Oh, I mean, it's a great time. Like, I mean, it's anytime I get a hold of something new, it's always a fun time. It's kind of fun having something that we developed, in house and that these guys are using first. Plus, it makes the buy-in from the players even better because they're like, oh, cool, I'm one of the first people to use this. Like, this is awesome. Um, so yeah, no, it's been great. And I mean, it was hard at first to balance, like, because I didn't know how it was going to work, if it was going to work, how well it was going to work for everybody. So it's kind of hard to balance, like, hey, I'm still trying to, develop these players to get to college baseball. Like, I don't want to screw up their development by forcing this tool that I made on them. Um, and luckily our guys were pretty open to trying it out and tested it on myself and our other coaches as well, just to, triple check our work and make sure it actually was doing it. But yeah, now it's just kind of off and rolling, and it's just a standard part of everything we do. Not just for pitchers either, position players have to know how to backspin a baseball. So like our infield coordinator and our catching coordinator use it for those guys as well. I know Kai Correa with the Mets got a hold of him and was just like, yeah, I just want to throw these at random at guys and make them grab a random grip and figure out how to throw it to a target, like make them solve problems. And so that's been fun. Like I said, I'm very excited to see how these get used from people smarter than me and see like what kind of crazy stuff they come up with that I wouldn't even have thought of. Like Kai saying that, I was like, that's insane. Like I never would have, that would have never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you brought it up because that brings us into the command conversation, right? I'm not a pitching guy, so this has all been theory, but a lot of command to me has always been he has good proprioception, he has good feel for his body, all of those things like that. And for a long time, it was, how do you train that? You don't really know. It's repeatable mechanics, those kinds of things. And then we got into the environment where we felt like we could constrain it with variables like, hey, here, throw a tennis ball from shortstop, here, throw a whatever weighted implement that you're talking about. And that was my curiosity on the command side when we first talked, was like, this has to help with command, right? In some way. And I love that
Yeah.
Kai Correa is breaking it out for that, because again, that's all repeating your mechanics is your ability to get to release on time with any variable in your hands, is what the elite throwers of the
Yeah.
baseball do in terms of command. Talk about how you're implementing that into training. You kind of talked about the study that you guys have done, and how there probably is an avenue to improve command with these as well, and being able to improve younger pitchers' feel for their body in space.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's just a variable trading tool, and frankly, a really complicated variable trading tool. Like, this thing is not easy to play catch with. Like, I remind guys all the time when they're starting off with it, like, this is going to be difficult. Like, you're going to struggle. You're going to sail baseballs. The first four seam you're going to throw, it's going to go 10 feet over the guy's head. Like, it's just almost guaranteed to happen. The first sweeper you throw is going to go 30 feet arm side. Like, it's pretty much just guaranteed to happen. Um, so watching the adjustment period, I mean, it comes quick, but I mean, again, it's just proprioceptive feel and forcing a new problem for athletes to solve. Um, exactly like Driveline's command balls, exactly like, using tennis ball or lacrosse ball or wiffle ball, anything. Like, you have to understand how your body moves to make that action happen. So it's just adding a new variable in of, now we're adding the variable of, it's forcing my hand to do something different.
Have you had any sessions, or is there a good roadmap for you, or do you like going where you're, hey, we're doing a throw with this one, and then we're throwing in the regular baseball, and then maybe you're throwing a regular weighted ball that's under baseball weight, like kind of ping ponging back and forth like that, a ladder, or are you strictly like, it doesn't work as great with that because you really need to get the feel for this down first before you're bouncing to anything else?
Yeah, I haven't really had a chance to go like crazy with that. Unfortunately, this off season was a little rough for us. We were moving facilities, so we've kind of been bouncing in between like high school indoors around here. So I haven't even had access to like my full toolkit. I feel very stuck back in like my first years of coaching where we didn't have anything. So that kind of sucked. So I haven't really had a chance to like this winter dive into like, yeah, let's flip the Driveline command balls in with this while you're trying to throw a changeup or while you're trying to throw a slider. Like, I'm going to give you the smaller command ball, throw a changeup to first strike, plus do that with the spin command ball, plus do that with regular baseball. But it's something definitely that I will be making my athletes do at some point when I have my full access to tools.
Yeah, because I feel like, as to Trevor's point, and both of you guys like talking about proprioception, and that is so much a command. And like, if you can, I would imagine if you can, be able to feel that release point, because in what you've been saying the whole time is like, timing has to be the same, the release point has to be the same, everything has to be the same until that last second when you're trying to manipulate a baseball. So if we can throw you just in a row anything that, all different sizes, different weights, I would imagine that if you can start commanding that, and when we just give you the 5-ounce baseball and say, go out there and do it for 100 pitches, you'll feel like you could throw that thing into a tin cup, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. And luckily we've seen some pretty good results on it. Especially just going back or from the spin command ball back to a regular baseball. Just like every weighted baseball, the first throw with a 5-ounce, they just yank it glove side. Like, it's just an inevitability. But like, again, they can tell why that happened, which is awesome. Like, that's always the hardest part of player development, is getting players to understand why things happen. So they have a better understanding of how to make adjustments. Um, Especially at lower levels. Like, high school guys just don't have great feel. So being able to give them feel and understanding of how and why things are going on in their body, like, why am I missing glove side? Why am I missing up and in? Like, all those things makes life a lot easier on our end.
They're baby giraffes, right? As Dan always used to say.
They are.
They're just young. They're still, and like even just like growing month over month, right? Like, kid comes in, he's a completely different, structure in terms of how his body moves in space. If we can at least lay the foundation of being able to create repeatable feels and repeatable moves, like, not to go too much on the hitting side, but I've always said, what I like to do with younger hitters is like tell them to close their eyes and just pick a bat out of a bat rack, right? And what I always say is the best hitters could take a stick that they pull off a tree, a 40-ounce bat, and everything in between, and hit a line drive back up the chute, right? Because they understand how their body moves in space. And especially when there's no, like, the timing's all the same, whether it's a front toss, a BP throw, or a machine fastball, they can get to contact point every time, no question, with whatever implement you put in there. Throwing a baseball is the same thing, right? Having feel in space and all of those things. So that's why I think it's probably an unbelievable future asset to just have pitchers, whether they're playing catch through their day to day. It's just like, hey man, off season training is like, here, throw this, here, throw this, here, throw this. And if they start to learn how to get to release on time each and every time they throw a tennis ball, a lacrosse ball, a Ravik Spin Command Ball, a Driveline Command Ball, a regular baseball, throw a football in there, who cares? Like whatever it is, it's like that's what so many people don't understand. It's like that's what command really kind of comes down to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and also I feel like we overcomplicate command of like, oh, you need to hit a spot to an inch. Like, no, that's not command. Command is being able to get it over the 17-inch wide plate, and however tall it is, like that's the goal. Hit that little square. Like that's it. That's command. If you can do that consistently, great. And especially if you have good stuff to go along with it. But I do think as youth coaches, it's like, oh, he's still not hitting his spot perfect. It's like, who cares? He just needs to get it over the strike zone.
Yeah, if he consistently gets it over the strike zone, that is the goal, especially at youth baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't imagine watching like 9U base.
Yeah,
let's
youth
talk
high
about
school baseball. Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Which we talked about that off record a little bit. I do think that these are going to help improve the quality of high school baseball because more strikes are going to be thrown, which can definitely make it a little bit better. One of the things I want to
maybe
discuss,
that needs to be our selling point.
No question. Yeah, better for parents. You're going to enjoy
Yeah.
watching the game.
If you guys want
me.
these games to not last 4 hours, buy these.
Buy these. I want to talk about one thing, right? Weighted balls are a bugaboo in the sport and in the player development, and it feels like an old school versus new school. We even have continual pushback from even major leaguers that come out in viral social media clips like Blake Snell talking about not throwing weighted balls. Is it okay if we categorize this as a weighted ball? Do you guys categorize it as a weighted ball?
It's 2 ounces heavier than a regular regular baseball. So I mean, yes, it is qualify under a weighted implement.
Okay. So I wanted to confirm that before asking this question. Talk about, obviously, you're still in the infancy of this. There's more research down the road. Talk about injury risk. Is there any concern with that? Do you tone back max intensity throws? What do those look like in terms of making sure guys aren't? Because when you put this out into the public and kids are just grabbing them off of the Amazon link and just ripping them, there's got to be some give and take here of making sure we have coaches oversight, making sure we have knowledge on what we're doing so that we don't create a problem with more injuries.
Yeah, I mean, we literally, like in our packaging, there's a little note in there that says "Do not throw these max intent." I've never had a kid throw them max intent. It's usually like 70% effort. Again, just getting feel. So yeah, no, definitely do not recommend throwing them max intent. However, I did myself. I put my elbow on the line to test to make sure that these are okay. So I did it with the pull sleeves and the arm care testing. So I did 1 week where I did 5-ounce pull downs, literally 5 days out of the week. Did straight. Yeah, it was terrible. My arm felt awful. Did it with 7-ounce Driveline weighted baseball, and then did it with our baseball. And the numbers worked out that it put slightly more stress than a 7-ounce weighted baseball, like regulation standard ball, and still significantly less than a 5-ounce baseball. Because who would have thunk that a heavier object means your arm moves slower, you're gonna put less stress on your arm. Luckily, not that complicated. Still kind of crazy that it is complicated to some people. But yeah, I mean, again, just don't do anything dumb with these and you'll be fine. It's pretty common sense of, yeah, you don't need to do pull downs to learn a slider. Like, throw these at lower intents and you should be fine. Obviously, any throwing is inherently dangerous. So, you always got to put that disclaimer out there. This job sucks as a pitching coach because I'm training you to do something your body doesn't want to do this much at this high intent. So I'm always putting your body at risk, but we're going to do it as safely as possible. And these do not add any stress as long as you aren't going crazy with them.
Well, on the whole, wouldn't you also agree that, in pitching with the injury front, one, like everybody's body's differently. There's a million pieces that go into an injury. It's never going to be one thing that leads to an arm injury. And unfortunately, that's just the fact of the matter. As you said, like you're always putting your body at risk when you get up there. Throwing is an unnatural movement for the body. Also, I just want to I keep going back to that. I love that you're saying that, like, You're just looking to get a feel. You're not throwing this max intent. I think that's a
Yeah.
great lesson to be learned, because I don't think that, some of the highest level pitchers I've talked to is they're not pitching at max intent in game. They would like to sit at 85, 90%, and then adrenaline takes that last 15, 10, 15% to get you to your top velos. So I think, to me, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here, kind of having that be the cue and be the mindset with the spin command balls helps so much when you get into the game, because it's like, throw it the same way you threw it with that thing. And then
Yeah,
you're going to have
I mean,
the
again,
adrenaline when a guy's in the box.
yeah, and again, like that's one of the, like I said, the timing, and like it's almost everybody that comes back with these is like, oh, it's a smaller move than I thought it needed to be. Like I thought if I want to throw a banger sweeper, like I needed to make this crazy wrist act. It's like, no, dude, it's a small move. It's just last second manipulation of a baseball. Like that's why it's so hard to teach, is because it's such a small move if you do it correctly. So it takes away some of the intent of like, I'm trying to crank this curveball over. I'm trying to, fly open with my glove side to get around this pitch. Like it takes away a lot of that and makes you realize like, oh, it's just a small move in space. Like you don't have to go crazy with it.
No, that's awesome. And again, like you said, it's unfortunately you have to add the caveat of all these things,
Always.
and making sure that there's inherent risk in throwing, right? Like I can't throw 5 baseballs right now without my shoulder hurting, and I haven't played baseball in a very long time. It's an unnatural move, and making sure that people who get a hold of these, which is very important, we're going to talk about the future and what you guys are hoping to do and hoping to expand to, and then make sure we plug where they can get them. They get a hold of them. Just be smart. Like, please be smart, and don't turn that back on Ryan and his group that are doing a really good thing for player development, and be like, your baseball's hurt. It's like, well, how'd you use them? Was he trying to throw the grossest pitch in the world, max intent, with a catcher for 25 reps? Well, yeah, that's why you got hurt using our product. It is not meant to be that. So just wanted to make sure we put that disclaimer out there, because again, it is voodoo when you talk about weighted balls and things like that, and thinking about throwing them at max intent scares a lot of people. So I'm glad that you started to sacrifice yourself and your own elbow to start to do that research, which I think is really important. So why don't you talk a little bit about what the future entails in terms of continuing to expand? Obviously, we hit on the command, the injury, all that research that you're hoping to, who this product is for as well, because if somebody's listening to this and they're like, this thing is dope, and why they should be utilizing it, just kind of give the elevator pitch for anybody who's still tuning in at this point.
Yeah, I mean, really it's for anybody 12 and up. I mean, if you're, you got youth kids who are trying to learn, how to manipulate fastballs and go 4-seam, 2-seam, cut, whatever, change up, great for them. Like, again, they're young, they're really easy to mold. Or if you're a high level guy who's just trying to pick up a new pitch quicker, like great for you as well. So it works pretty much 12 and up. Anybody that's trying to refine or learn a new pitch, you guys qualify for using this product. So pretty wide group that can use it. If you're a position player that can't hit your target because you run the ball like crazy, like, yeah, here you go, here's the way to solve it. So again, I do truly believe that this is something every baseball player should have in their bag. And we're like the summer teams that I work for, kind of putting our money where our mouth is, and we're making sure it is in every single one of our players' bags. Like they get it for signing up for the team. Because again, yeah, everybody needs to throw a baseball well. Like the only person that doesn't is a DH, but you shouldn't be a DH until you're in college and or professional baseball. So you better know how to throw a baseball to a target at any level, any position. So this should help you with that.
I'm going to give you some marketing material. Head coach, Division III head coach that I love and respect so much. One of the first days in the fall when we were talking about defense, he said the best teams play catch the best.
Yep.
That's it. The best defensive teams play catch the best. And he said 80% of errors are made on throwing errors. And when people start
and our infield coordinator would back that up pretty well.
100%. So if you can't throw a baseball well, right? Like you're talking about, Ryan, is throwing a baseball well is a position player skill, and it does get you to play every day in college baseball. The bat is the first thing, but you have to be able to play catch, and the best teams in college baseball play catch the best. Like that is just matter of factly, and it plays out every year in June when you're watching conference tournaments and NCAA regionals, the teams that play catch the best simply win more.
Yeah, I mean it's why bunts still work at the college level, is because your third baseman goes up and airmails one into right field. So yeah, being able to play catch is kind of one of the three pillars of really two pillars or three pillars of baseball. It's catch the ball, throw the ball, and hit the ball. Like that's it. That's all baseball is.
I also want to add in as well, and maybe you can speak on it as well. We've talked about metrics through a lot of these, and somebody might be listening to this and be like, well, I don't have a TrackMan or a Rapsodo unit that I can set this up for. Talk a little bit, because I know the product itself was created for people that don't have it. You've just utilized it with a TrackMan so that you can keep track of the progress guys are making. So give a little bit of plug for people that like, hey, maybe you might not have a ball tracking unit, but you can, like, again, we all see it with our eyes. You can still utilize this product, and you don't have to have concrete. This sweeper's moving 24 inches.
Yeah, so in the app that comes free with it, which anybody can download if they want to, it's off of our Twitter page, Instagram page. Like you can find it; it's completely free to use. There's a common grips section that will give you all the grip types: fastball, off speed, it doesn't matter. If you scroll down just a little bit, there's the normal chart that shows you like, hey, this is the big league average of this pitch, this is the high school average, college average, whatever. So you can kind of see what those movement profiles should look like. So if that's something you're like, yeah, I want to learn how to throw that, now you know that that's what the movement should look like. There's the grip, and then there's also a slow-mo video attached to it and a description attached to it. So it should give you pretty much all the information you need, even if you don't have that tech, to be able to get the feel of whatever pitch type you're going for. So makes it super easy if you don't have TrackMan like that. And that was also a thought of like, yeah, it's really hard to get access to a TrackMan. Like in Colorado, we have 3 TrackMans available for public use. Not many, like 1% of athletes are going to use that in the state. So if there's a way that we can, bridge that gap a little bit for those areas that just don't have access to it, like that's what we're going for.
100%. I think that's the most important piece of the product, is this is for everybody, right? Like, yes, will the Power 4 programs find value in it, and will it make their guys a lot better and they can keep track of it? But if you're a high school coach who genuinely just wants to help a guy learn how to, refine his repertoire, that's it. Like, we don't have to say adding pitches. We don't have to say, making the grossest pitch of that. Just being able to maintain their development through this spring. That is the one thing that I know you talked about. Like, that's why this product came about, was how to do this in an affordable way without ball tracking units and without access to that. And I think it's really important for high school coaches, Division III coaches, D2 coaches, D1 coaches, NAIAs, JUCOs, even some, facilities and showcase teams and things like that. Like all baseball programs should be having these, because like we talked about, your infielders need it. Your catchers definitely need it. Your outfielders could use it, right? They don't need arm side run. And that's not to mention the value that it brings for your pitching staff, even if you're only getting them, a couple times a week, being able to develop those players. So I can't emphasize enough that everybody who is out there should have a set of these baseballs and having their guys throw them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. And again, I hope that everybody that does has as much fun with them as I had. Like I said, it's been a fun 3 years of just trying new stuff out. I get a nerd out over it, so it's been great.
I love that. And so where can people find you, the product? I know it's on Amazon, which is great for the buyer. So talk a little bit about where people can find you and making sure they can purchase these.
Yeah, so any of the social medias is going to be under Ravik Sports. It's available for purchase on Amazon, on our website, which I want to make sure I have the right domain before I say it. Here we go. Of course, it doesn't want to come up with it.
I got it. Is it pitchdesigner.raviksports.com?
So that's the app.
Okay.
The app is not on an Apple app. We did not want to deal with Apple's terms and all that stuff. So it's just a web page, but that is the Pitch Designer app. So if you want to go through and just kind of, take a glance of like, hey, how many pitches does this do? You can just scroll through the common grips. That's my best selling point ever. That's what I do. Is I'm just like, yeah, this is all it can show you. but raviksports.com will also have all of our info on there. You can feel free to email us. Again, there's 4 of us. We'll get back to you pretty quick. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to do Zoom calls with anyone about this. Been doing that for the last 6 months. So, yeah, feel free to reach out with literally any questions, DM, through Twitter, Instagram, anything.
I thank you so much for your time today, Ryan. And I just want to, the thing that you've harped on that I hope if anyone takes anything away from this is feel is like the most important thing in pitching. And I think you've kind of laid that out perfectly for everyone. And back to the point you guys were making a couple minutes ago, of like, even if you don't have a ball tracking thing, unit of some type, to create the feel and repeatability, player development is at an all-time high. And I love that everyone has access to facilities to work with people like you. Sometimes we can become, and Trevor and I have talked about this, we can become a little bit kind of emboldened to the data and the metrics. If you can just create repeatable feel, and using a product like this that can kind of teach you those grips and create plus stuff without having to always be emboldened to the data and create that feel for yourself, is incredibly valuable. And thank you for what you're doing for pitching and player development, because it's this is an awesome product, and I wish I had the access to something like this when I was trying to teach guys how to make their stuff better.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm just lucky nobody in the 160 years of baseball decided not to glue 2 different baseball weights together. So got a little lucky on that end, but I'll take it.
That's what I was going to say. No, thankfully, nobody took a circular saw to a baseball and thought, let's put some extra weight on one side. And it's awesome that you've done this. It's awesome that you've experimented with it. It's everything you're doing is fantastic. I can't emphasize that enough. As Dan said, that it's super valuable. I know Dan and I were, the second we touched these, the second I talked to you, I was a believer. The second Dan grabbed one of these, he was a believer. And so anybody who purchases these, like I said, off of Amazon, where it makes shipping easy, payments easy, it's really easy on the buyer in terms of that. You're going to get one of these guys. I'll finish with this. And Ryan, I know I texted you this, a college baseball player that I was talking to, we were just talking about player development. And he said to me, he was like, hey, we got these really cool baseballs, and I'm a sinker guy. And I grabbed one and started throwing bowling balls the day I picked it up. And I was like, oh, you got the Ravik Spin Command Baseballs. He's like, how did you know? And I was like, it was like 3 days after we had connected. And again, not that I wasn't a believer coming off of that conversation, but the more feedback that you get on the product and the quality from athletes themselves, the more you just start to buy into the true world value in baseball and being able to make guys better. So we can't thank you enough for doing that. I think it's just the beginning. I wouldn't be surprised if, as we're hitting colleges this summer, you're going to see a lot of Ravik Spin Command Baseballs and a lot of people's buckets that go in line with their plyo balls and all of the equipment they use on the pitching side. So Ryan, thank you so much for the time, and we couldn't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us on. Like, that's incredible. Like I said, I didn't expect to be on a podcast this soon into the journey, but it's fun. I enjoy this. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. First of many. I guarantee that. First of many. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Follow Ravik Spinball Commanders, or Spin Command Baseballs, wherever on social media, and make sure you purchase them, because they're going to make your pitching staff, your infielders, your outfielders, and your catchers better. And that'll do for this episode of the Baseball Development Hub podcast.